Hey everybody, it's Harley here again, and if you want to make big impact plays like that with Orisa, you've come to the right place. So if you guys watched my basic guide, which really just tells you how Orisa works and the mechanics of her character, then you already know this about me. Like I said, I'm Harley. I am a Grandmaster on console, and I believe there are a lot of differences between what is viable on console versus what's viable on PC. The biggest difference between console and PC is the level of accuracy that you can obtain with a PC via keyboard and mouse. Well, just to give you an example, the number 2 Widow on Overbuff for PC has a 51% scoped accuracy, but a 22.7 critical percentage accuracy. That's massive critical hit capabilities. Now, on console, specifically PS4, the number 1 Widowmaker via Overbuff has 53% scoped accuracy, slightly higher, but the critical hit accuracy only 14%. That's a huge difference, and that's going to result in a huge difference in capabilities of that Widowmaker versus the PC Widow. Now, because of that difference, that vast difference in the capability of the critical hit accuracy, that makes the way that the game is played different on console than it is on PC. You can get away with more on console than you can on PC because, well, they just can't shoot you as well. Now, when I tell you guys this, I'm not trying to tell you that, oh, all the PC videos are wrong, don't listen to them. The PC is really the professional standard for the game. If you want to strive to be the very best that you can, and you follow those, then a lot of that information, almost all of it, is going to transfer down to console in kind of a trickle-down effect, if you will. What's important to remember is that just because they say it's not going to work when they're talking about their PC platforms, doesn't mean that it's not going to work on console. So now that all that is out of the way, let's get to talking about the reason why you're here to learn about Orisa and how you play her to her maximum potential. Starting briefly with the fusion driver, her primary weapon. If you watch my basic guide, you'll understand this already, but it is a projectile shooter. This projectile shooter, you have to lead your shots unless they're right in your grill or they're back far away running straight at you. You've got to lead those shots because otherwise you're not going to hit anything, and you always aim for the head. If you want to do maximum damage and really do any creditable damage with Orisa, you need to be aiming for the head as much as possible. And this weapon has 150 shots in it, yes, but if there's ever even the small break in action, you want to reload that big gun because it takes 2.5 seconds to get that sucker reloaded. And the last thing you want to do is run out of ammo right when a Roadhog gets in your face and have to try to survive for 2.5 seconds with him in your grill, trying to reload that big gun and hoping you get a chance to kill him. Alright, so let's dive more in depth into this protective barrier, which seems like it's the most basic, simple thing in the world, but it's really not, and people get this wrong all the time when playing Orisa. Don't be that guy or gal. That guy who just comes up with Orisa, drops that barrier directly in front of yourself and starts the fight, because unless yourself is in the optimal position to shield the majority of your team that you can possibly shield, then that is the wrong way to do it. Yeah, you always want to get this barrier up in a position where if there's a choke point, put it in the choke point. Even if you're going to stay back a little bit and fight off of it, you can launch another barrier up there. You can halt people back through it so they can't just walk on through and ignore your barrier. And you can lay damage constantly at them so that they feel very uncomfortable trying to walk through your barrier. So if you've ever fought against a Winston or played as Winston and you drop your, again, 900 HP barrier for Winston down, you'll notice that because it's stationary, people just try to walk in and out of it to fight you, and you have to go through each side of it yourself, kind of dance around and use it to dodge the damage the best you can. You're going to do the same principle. Apply that with Orisa and her barrier. If a Roadhog comes right in your grill, and you got a Reaper trying to get in your face, keep jumping around, going in and out, different sides of that barrier, use the curved side of it to dodge and go through a little more. And it's the versatility there is massive, and people don't realize that until they're actually trying to engage you and you're using these kind of snaky tactics on them. And never forget that your barrier only lasts for 20 seconds and it has a cooldown on it as well before you get it again. So you want to launch that barrier as early as possible before you're going to be engaging people. And if it's been up for about 10 seconds or so and there's really nobody coming yet, pop that barrier, just redeploy it. That way you've got a fresh barrier that's not going to expire while you're in the middle of fighting somebody. And once you get good enough, of course on defense it's easy. You wait till the timer hits 1, you pop your barrier down. By the time they're engaging, you got another one, bam, 1800 shield. Well, when you're attacking, you can do something similar. Once you get good enough at practicing some of the launches, you can launch your projected barrier there over buildings and land it right where you wanted it, choke point. Now we're going to dig into the fortify ability a little bit deeper than we did in the basic guide that you may or may not have watched. Fortify will reduce the amount of damage that you take by 50% for 4 seconds. And not only that, it will make you completely impervious to anything that might stun you, boop you, make you sleep dart, roadhog hook, Reinhardt pin, anything like that. Graviton, Junkrat trap, none of it's going to affect you while that's active. There are a lot of people who think that fortify is a really kind of mediocre or just almost pointless ability sometimes. However, it's definitely not. If you use it at the proper timing, you will survive a tracer pulse bomb as long as you're over, as long as you're over 200 health. Junkrat, if you're over 300 health, Junkrat's Riptire is not going to kill you as long as you reinforce before it hits. I mean, if you get Graviton, you can not only get yourself out of it, you can get yourself out and then look at the proper angle that you might need to pop a barrier down to protect your team, not just taking a wild guess. It's so many things that can save you, from. Even you see a Pharah getting ready to boop you off the map, you reinforce. You see an Orisa trying to pull you off the map or pull you out of position, you can reinforce. And they can't do anything. Their whole plan is now negated and they are potentially out of position because of it. And as I said before, don't be that guy or girl who makes the mistake of walking up to the enemy team, they're already starting to shoot at you, and you pop your barrier down and fortify because you just made your fortify worthless. You have a barrier down that's now taking the damage for you, and you're wasting it. And now once they break that barrier because they're already engaged, you've got nothing to help keep you safe. So don't be that guy and do it wrong. And use your fortify in the smartest way possible when playing against a Reinhardt. The enemy Reinhardts, dumb Reinhardts, are going to come up and they're going to try to charge you right away. And you're going to fortify and stop them and mow them down. But smart Reinhardts are going to wait and they're going to try to bait you. And they're going to try to keep their shield up and get right in front of you. And then they're going to try to wait and see you pop that fortify. And then they see that and they think, there it is. Wait 4 seconds and then pin. So what you have to do is when they decide they want to get cocky like that and they walk right up at you, you need to get in their face in return and just start blasting them. And as soon as you do, and you start blasting them, if you even hear the hint of the sound from him getting ready to pin, or you think he's about to pin, then pop your fortify. That way, he's feeling pressured now because he's got a gun in his face shooting through his barrier. Now you've got the advantage on him. That's what a good Reinhardt is going to do, and that's how you have to keep him back. Or you can fortify, and as soon as he tries to pin in, when it's off, you can sidestep and halt him to the side. And when you halt him to the side, it'll throw his charge off. He'll miss you completely. Now we're going to dive right into Halt, which to me is probably the absolute coolest ability in the entire game. I like it better than May's Icewall, I like it better than Genji's Dash, I like it better than Hanzo's Scatter Arrow. So if you guys were like me and you first saw this ability and you were kind of like the Kool-Aid man, like, oh yeah, and you got jacked up because you're like, here's another chance that I can pull people off the map and maybe even get these multiple character boops, which you can definitely do. Here's the catch though. If you're only trying, if you're just going after that big boop or that pull off the map every time, and you're holding on to your halt just for those opportunities, depending on the map you're on, of course, then you're not going to get any, because people are going to see what you're trying to do, and they're going to I'm just going to avoid it. Just like when you see a Roadhog on Ilios Well map, and you always see him running up right next to the hole. You're never going to run in his range where he can get you, because you know why he's there and what he's doing all the time. So you have to be sneaky with it. Use your Halt for other things, throughout the match constantly. Pull somebody back out of cover if they were just getting shot and they're low, and you can get that kill. If you see an enemy turn around to flee from the fight, you can pull him back and stall him, and shoot him up. Little Lucio getting all over you, wanting to do some damage, and thinks you can't hit him because you're shooting a projectile shooter. Well, he's shooting one too. If he can hit you, you can hit him. You halt him, pull him off the little wall he's on, or whatever he's trying to climb up, and just blast him. This is such a great tool that you can use in so many ways like that. One of the tricks that I like the most is when you're playing with a Reinhardt on your team as well, and you're Orisa and you have an enemy Reinhardt. Well, guess what? You don't have to break his shield to hammer down. All his shield has to do is be off the ground. So as soon as your Reinhardt's ready to hammer down, you call out that you're going to halt. You halt that Reinhardt straight in the air. Your Reinhardt hammers down while he's in the air, and it's going to knock everybody down. And that's all. And so you can wipe their team without ever having to deal with breaking a 2000 HP barrier that way. Use your Halt to combo with other teammates. Use it to combo with Reinhardt in a different way. When he's going to throw his Fire Strike, first ult the enemy, pull them together, and then you've got a Fire Strike that goes through 4 people instead of 1. If Genji's going to dash, do the same thing. Have him come up and dash right as you halt. Symmetra, you see your orb flowing through and people getting ready to dodge it, throw yours out, same time, pull them into it. Symmetra gets massive charge for her ult and the teleporter, and they take huge damage from that. Like I said, your imagination is really the key to unlocking how many different things you can do with Halt. You want to pull your enemies off the high ground. You got a sniper or soldier in a position that's locking your team down. Just halt and pull them off. Now, keep in mind with Halt, it has a 7.5 meter range from the orb. You'll see the green lines starting to lock on. When you see as many or the one that you're looking for lock on, you want to hit that button because it takes about a half a second for it to detonate once you've told it to. And then once it detonates there, it's going to grab whoever's attached, pull them right next to the orb. It won't pull them towards the center like the Graviton Surge will, but it will pull them right next to it. So if you want them in a certain spot, say off the map, make sure your orb is far enough off the edge when you're launching or when you're detonating, so that it will actually pull them off the map and not just drop them right on the ledge, which can be a big mistake sometimes. And the more you use it, the more you're going to get used to that and be able to use it to its full potential. And the last but certainly not the least thing for us to talk about is the Supercharger, which if you watch some of the PC videos, you hear them saying that it's one of the, quote, worst ultimates in the game, end quote. And this is where it's important to remember that this is a console guide, because the Superchargers is a very, very powerful ultimate. Yes, it can be destroyed, which is why placement and timing is key to its success or failure. But it's 200 HP, so it's not like they're going to walk right up to it, pop it one time, and it's done. It takes some effort for them to kill it, and keep in mind, when they're trying to destroy your Supercharger, you're killing them in the process. Usually when I drop a Supercharger down during a team fight, the team fight is over, and before the Supercharger is even close to being done, we've wiped their team. It's all, like I said, it's about timing and positioning, and now let's get into what that timing and positioning really mean. With this, team-wide nano boost Supercharger, basically, you don't want to wait until the enemies are coming to your point or whatever and starting to pop ults. You want to use this prematurely, before your enemies are going to pop ults. So when a team fight starts and you know that things are about to go down, you pop this Supercharger down. And that's when your team is starting to wipe. Now in response, they're going to want to try to throw ults back at you. But when you have it out first, you've got a much your chances of killing them first while their ults are even casting, a soldier ult, a reaper ult, things like that, you're going to have a higher chance of killing them before their ults are even capable of doing the damage necessary to your team or to your healers or to yourself. The positioning that you drop this is also going to be key to its success, as I've said before. You can, as I prefer to look at it, as more of a last resort. You're going to drop it in a corner with your barrier in front of it, with you on top of it. That way you can protect this thing, and they literally have to go through you, through your barrier, through your reinforcement to kill your supercharger while you're shooting them. And almost every time, unless a tracer pops in an ult, or D.Va launches their D.Va bomb at you, something like that, or even a Hog decides to ult it, they're not going to destroy it unless they're, blowing their ultimate just to do that. And if they're doing that and wasting their ultimate there, your team is most likely wiping their team out while they're doing this. So, I mean, it's a win-win for you in that scenario. But ideally, you want to position this either in a spot that's a little more high ground, so that your team can benefit from it, but mostly in a spot where the environment can protect it just as well as you can, so that you can pop it in a doorway that's next to the point where you're at, or on the payload, behind the payload a little bit on the back of it, where it's got some environmental cover, so that they can't just easily shoot it or break your barrier and kill it, but you can cover this thing from multiple angles while you're destroying their team. And when they're trying to go out of their way to go around the environment in an angle that they're not already pushing, then you're just wipe them. Well, I've tried to use several different scenarios on how to use these abilities and different ways that enemies are going to come at you while you're playing it with Orisa. But if you have any questions at all about different things or things that you've come across in your own gameplay and you want to know how better to handle them, and I really look forward to your feedback and things that you guys think I can do better, things, if you're looking for something different in my videos, just give me a shout, let me know. As always, I'd appreciate it very much if you like and subscribe so that you can see more of these. The success of these videos or failure might determine how many more like this I do for other characters in the future. I'd love to do one for Hanzo because I also play an amazing Hanzo, and I feel like the guides out there for him are lacking quite a bit. So, if there's any other characters you want to see, things like that, just let me know, and we'll see what we can get going.